Last week I took my rampaging shit show on the road through 5 southern and mid-Atlantic states, so let's do this shit. I've reviewed Buc-ee's before, and if you haven't seen it, my conclusion is that while they are geniuses when it comes to branding and marketing, there isn't anything else there that's worth all the hype. I mean, you don't see influencers lining up to film themselves at Walmart, but that's roughly what you're getting minus the merchandising. Behind that beaver's stupid grin, it's all quantity and novelty, with little in the way of quality. I mean, imagine bragging to someone, I got this scented candle at a gas station, without the context of Buc-ee's. It sounds ludicrous, and I'm saying all of this as someone who just bought his third Buc-ee's t-shirt. It's so mad. But on this, my third Buc-ee's endeavor in as many states, I have reached an important conclusion. You know how McDonald's is a place that if you go there anytime after breakfast, it's probably because you had to. But if you find yourself near one in the morning, there's genuine excitement. Excitement to get a McMuffin, a McGriddle, a biscuit, or hash brown. That's Buc-ee's. Go there in the morning and it's a completely different experience. Because not only are there fewer people there, the food is genuinely better. We got some breakfast tacos and a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, and it was pretty top tier. I guess it was too early for them to drown their brisket in a sickeningly sweet barbecue sauce, so you don't need to start your day with a shot of glucagon. Though I will say I was disappointed that the marketing geniuses at Buc-ee's aren't using the ingenious wordplay I came up with by having brisket biscuits. But I'm still giving Buc-ee's breakfast fare a high 6 out of 10. This was my first time in Kentucky, 31 out of 50 by the way, and I've got to say, it is stunningly beautiful there. Normally, I don't give a shit about nature, but I was simply awed by the endless country roads and rolling hills, that smell of fresh grass, and city names that you could take any two of and have a completely original name for a fictional Old West character. Calhoun Burnside, you got a lot of nerve showing your face in this here saloon. Why, if Sheriff Harlan Guthrie weren't here, there'd be trouble. Also, it was a real mindfuck to be driving a stretch of Kentucky highway and seeing this behemoth bitch come over the horizon. Anyway, we stopped in the town of Glendale to grab a bite at the Whistle Stop restaurant, and it was pretty goddamn wild. It was like finding the restaurant that inspired the Cracker Barrel, even though it opened 6 years later, and also it was crammed into someone's house. This includes a gift shop, which is in a random side room on both floors. With the cramped spaces and old-timey decor, it feels like you're eating on a train that's not moving. We got an order of fried green tomatoes, which were tasty, but still a tad underdone, despite them having the same internal temperature as the sun. We also got the country fried steak and fried chicken dinners. They were both good, but lacked seasoning. This included the country gravy, which tasted of nothing. I don't know if they have an aversion to pepper there, but this Kentucky fried chicken doesn't hold a candle to what you'd find in Tennessee. The mashed potatoes, on the other hand, had levels. Out of nowhere, the Whistle Stop came back with some of the best mashed potatoes I've ever had outside of Amish country. I also made a peak discovery. I got an order of fried corn cakes. Just picture a thinner, crispier piece of cornbread. It was tasty, but then I spooned some of the stewed apples onto it and felt like I just found a Rembrandt in my garage. I told the waitress about it, and her reaction was that I either just invented a brand new dessert out of dinner items, or she thinks I'm mentally deficient. Also, just as a funny note, there was a couple seated across from us, and the woman had one of the funniest orders I've ever overheard. She ordered the chicken tender meal. When the waitress asked what side, she said French fries for one and French fries for the other. When the waitress started naming dipping sauces for her chicky tendies and fries, she said, "You can just give me ketchup." I don't normally judge people for what they eat, but this was like an actual adult 7-year-old, and it made me laugh. And speaking of 7, the Whistle Stop was a lower 7 out of 10. As I mentioned, the rolling hills of Kentucky had that lovely smell of country grass that only 19th century poets or fabric softener ads could put into words. But then as we were driving, we were punched in the face by a foul odor. And in that moment, the wife and I turned to one another and said simultaneously, "Ugh, what is that smell?" Then we looked up and saw a sign that said, "Welcome to West Virginia." I swear to Aisha, that's exactly how it happened. West Virginia still contains some beautiful stretches of country to drive through, but we were struggling to find anywhere to eat since the billboards all seem to have chain restaurants. I was thinking about trying Primanti Brothers for the first time when I spotted a sign that just said Muriel's. So we jumped off the highway in Fairmont, West Virginia. But when we arrived, we saw that the full name was Muriel's Italian Kitchen, and my expectations sank. I live in Arkansas, where Italian food is as foreign as fluent Mandarin to your 80-year-old grandmother who is also dead. So what in the fresh hell will Italian food in West Virginia be like? Well, as it turns out, pretty goddamn good. I mean, look at this place. You could film a fucking Scorsese movie in here. We ordered our lunch and they brought us each a salad we didn't know came with the meal. It had a Roquefort blue cheese dressing. It had pickled onions, chili olives, and for some reason a single pepperoni. It was the best goddamn salad I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, this salad dressing had me questioning my main order. They had a sandwich on the menu with steak tips, caramelized onions, banana peppers, and more of that Roquefort blue cheese. And if I ever find myself in the area again, I may just go back and try it. Anyway, our pasta dishes arrived, and while I can't say they were the best or even in the top 3 of all time, Mama Roma in Odenton, Maryland, Villanova West in Pennsylvania, My Sausage Orzo, they would definitely crack the top 10, and I can't imagine there being one better in the state of West Virginia. A low 8 out of 10. Back in the Baltimore area for the first time in a minute, I was staying with family, and to give you an idea what the food here is like, I listened to a family member and his friend have an argument over which Korean barbecue spot in the town of Catonsville was their favorite. As in, there wasn't just one or two, but enough to have an actual argument. We ended up going to a place called the Hub Asian Food Hall, which was like if a food court from an American mall was translated into Korean and then back into English. There's a giant TV playing what I think are Korean music videos, those vending machines that dispense cute little Asian toys, and 6 or 7 Korean food stands with kiosks on which you could order from any of them. Oh, and for some reason there's a Charlie's Philly Steaks, which is a chain founded in Ohio by a Korean man, so that explains why it's here, but none of it has anything to do with Philly. Anyway, I wouldn't recommend going to this place after 9 hours of driving because it was like a fucking fever dream. We got a Korean corn dog and some Korean fried chicken, and if the dump I took the next day was a movie, it would be There Will Be Blood. I told my brother-in-law to just mail me the bill from his plumber. The Hub is interesting as a novelty, but it's like an Asian Dave and Buster's, because the guy that gave me my order was named Dave, and it busted up my anus in my brother-in-law's toilet. 4 out of 10. Delaware. My old stomping ground for quite a few years. Okay, so the best way to think of Delaware is that it's divided into 2 sections, South Philly and Eastern Maryland. The reason most people end up there is to go to the beach, and in those beach towns there is a tried and true food battle over pizza. If you want to get pizza by the shore, most people, especially tourists, go to Grotto Pizza, while some in the know go for Nicola Pizza. But whichever side of this debate you fall on, you're both wrong and stupid and I hate you. Louis Pizza, right next to the beach, is where you go if you weren't a moronic disappointment to your parents. When I was kicking around here, it was cash only, which, if you know, you know. They also have grinders on the menu. What's a grinder? Well, it's when you take a hoagie. What's a hoagie? Shut the fuck up! It's when you take a hoagie and before you put the veggies on, you throw it in the pizza oven to toast the bread, meat, and cheese. Fucking classic. The wife and I went there and got a pizza and a grinder, and it tasted just like it did when we met and fell in love there. I told the waitress about it, and it moved her heart to the point of tears, and then everyone stood and clapped. 10 out of 10. And if you think that rating is blinded by pure nostalgia, shut the fuck up! And that's 5 spots in 5 states. Ah, fuck, I forgot about Virginia. We took a different route home that included a stop in Harrisonburg, Virginia to gas up, where I spotted Ciro's Lasagna House. If you've never heard of a lasagna house before, well, that makes 2 of us. So I had to check it out. It was a little early in the day to consume a brick of cheese, tomatoes, and carbs, so we went with a chicken parm and a cheesesteak hoagie. Now, if you have a chicken parm sub on your menu, there is a 100% chance I'll order it, and a 95% chance I will not only not like it, but will consider it to be utter dog shit. And 95% of that 95% will be because you use chicken tenders, and that is simply not a chicken parm. Which makes Ciro's Vagina House that rare exception because they are using cutlets the way it should be. So it was a pretty solid chicken parm, but doesn't get perfect marks because their cheese game is a little weak, and their sauce could use a bit more oregano. Also, crinkle cut fries are fine, but very unforgiving if you undercook them. Do better. As for the cheesesteak hoagie, we got it their way, which included mayonnaise, which I don't wholesale object to, but when I take a bite and get a mouthful of mayo, that's a big you problem. Again, step up with the cheese. But considering we were more than 300 miles outside of Philly, this was a spot that Virginians should be proud of. A high-end 6 out of 10. And that's 6 spots in 6 states. If your state has a spot to check out, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to it in about 5 to 10 years.